The snowstorm was the worst Kai had seen in years. The wind pushed against him like a living beast, howling through the trees and carrying ice with every gust. He pulled his coat tighter around his chest and stepped deeper into the white wilderness. He wasn't looking for anything, just checking his perimeter like he always did after a heavy fall. But what he found made him stop cold. 2 figures, half buried in the snow, lay side by side near the ridge behind his cabin. Thin arms, blue skin, and glowing eyes barely open. They weren't human. One of them blinked at him, her lips trembling but unable to speak. The other didn't move at all. Kai didn't think. He dropped to his knees and brushed the snow off. Their faces, their skin was freezing, their fingers stiff. They were still breathing, but only just. He didn't waste time. One after another, he lifted them into his arms. They were light, too light, like they hadn't eaten in days. The first one gasped softly as he picked her up, her eyes wide with fear. But when she looked at his face, something in her expression changed. She stopped shaking, not because she was warm, but because she had hope. Kai carried them both to his cabin. He didn't care who they were or where they came from. No one deserved to die like that in the cold. Inside, the fire was already burning. He laid them gently on a thick blanket near the hearth. He unwrapped their wet, torn cloaks and covered them with a fur throw. One of the girls winced as he touched her arm. Her fingers were red and raw. Frostbite had already started. "Not going to hurt you," he said quietly. They didn't answer. They just stared at him with wide, glowing eyes. One of them tried to speak, but only a whisper came out in a language he didn't understand. Kai went to the kitchen and came back. With warm broth. He held the cup near the older one's lips. She sniffed it, then slowly took a sip. Her hands trembled so much that he had to hold the cup steady. She looked at her sister, then nodded. Kai gave the second girl a drink too. For the next few hours, he watched them closely. They didn't speak much, just soft whispers to each other in their alien tongue. But they never took their eyes off him. There was no fear in their gaze now, only confusion. Maybe curiosity. When the storm outside grew stronger, Kai threw more wood into the fire, and he checked their fingers, gently rubbing them to help the blood return. The younger sister flinched when he touched her hand, but didn't pull away. There. Skin shimmered slightly under the firelight. It's not just blue, but a soft silver glow beneath it. Strange patterns marked their shoulders, glowing faintly like ancient runes. He didn't understand it, but he knew it wasn't normal. He looked at them closely. They were beautiful in a way he had never seen before. High cheekbones, silver lashes, and soft flowing hair like melted moonlight. They were clearly sisters. One looked a bit older, more alert. The other looked like she might fall asleep at any moment. "Who are you?" he asked, but they only stared back. The older one finally pointed at herself. "Leary," she said. Then she pointed at the younger girl. "Vera," Kai nodded slowly. "Leary and Vera, I'm Kai." She tried to repeat it. "Kai," she said, her voice weak but soft. He smiled. "That's right." She placed her hand on his chest, her fingers still cold. "Thank you." That night, Kai made a bed for them near the fire. He stayed close, just in case they needed anything. But mostly, he watched. He watched the way they curled up together like frightened animals, the way they held hands even while sleeping, the way their skin shimmered when the flames flickered. Something told him this wasn't just a rescue. There was more to these girls than he understood. Something old, something sacred. But for now, all that mattered was keeping them alive. Sometime after midnight, the older one stirred. She sat up slowly and looked at him. "You warm?" she said. He chuckled. "You're welcome." She looked around the cabin, then back at him. Her eyes narrowed. "Bad people. Follow. We. Run." Kai nodded slowly. "You're safe here." But she didn't look convinced. She leaned forward and whispered, "If they come, do not let them take us." Then she placed her hand on his again. This time, her fingers weren't cold. Kai stared at her, feeling the weight of something heavy settle in his chest. It didn't know who she was. He didn't know why they were running. But when she looked at him with those glowing silver eyes, he made a silent promise. He would protect them, no matter who came, no matter what it cost. Outside, the wind screamed across the hills. But inside the cabin, a strange warmth began to grow, a warmth that had nothing to do with the fire. Kai stirred the pot gently as steam rose from the thick stew. Outside, snow continued to fall, but inside the cabin, the fire glowed warm and steady. The two alien sisters, Leary and Vera, sat close together on the fur blanket. Their eyes followed. His every move not with fear, but with something deeper. Hunger, yes, but not just for food. Leary's gaze was sharp now. She had recovered faster, her posture straighter, her mind more alert. She kept Vera close, brushing her fingers through her sister's hair like a protective guardian. Vera's eyes were softer, distant. She looked at Kai like he was something she had dreamed about but never believed was real. He brought the stew in 2 wooden bowls and knelt beside them. "Here," said. Leary took hers and sniffed it with suspicion. Vera, however, reached for her bowl like she couldn't wait another second. Her hands trembled, and Kai gently helped her hold the bowl steady. They ate in silence. But after a few bites, Leary glanced up. "Good," she said quietly. Kai smiled. "It's rabbit stew, but I added mushrooms." Leary looked confused, but nodded politely. Vera, on the other hand, leaned forward and placed her small hand over Kai's. Her skin was warmer now, soft, glowing slightly under the firelight. She looked into his eyes, her lips parting slightly. "You made this for us," she whispered. Kai hesitated, unsure what to say. "Of course. You needed it." Vera tilted her head, confused. "Not many." "Help," Leary spoke then, her voice firmer. "Our kind once royalty, but now hunted." Kai's eyebrows rose. "Hunted? Why?" Leary didn't answer at first. She looked down at her empty bowl, then at her sister. "Our family gone. We refused. Breeding." The word hit the air like a blade. Kai's expression shifted. "Breeding, you mean? Forced?" Leary nodded. "Our people, when females reach maturity, they are chosen. No choice. Males of power. Take them." Kai's jaw tightened. Vera looked away, her shoulders sinking. "We escaped," Leary added. "They punished us. Sent others to retrieve us. We ran. Hid. Then storm came." Kai sat back, stunned. "So that's why you were out there, in the snow?" Leary nodded. "They want us back, not because they care, but because we are rare." Kai stood up and walked to the fire. His hands trembled slightly, not from cold, but from anger. He had lived alone for years, away from war, politics, and pain. But now, 2 lives sat in his home, 2 sisters, cast out and hunted for refusing to be used like property. When he turned around, Vera was standing behind him. She was quiet, close, her eyes wide with emotion. Then, softly, she placed her hand on his chest. "You warm, but not just body," she whispered. "Your spirit warm?" He couldn't answer. He didn't know how Lil Rai stood to, watching from behind her sister. "In our law," she said carefully, "a male who saves a female, touches her, warms her, can claim or be claimed." Kai stepped back. "Wait, what do you mean claim?" Vera touched the glowing mark on her shoulder. It had changed color. Faint red rings circled a symbol Kai didn't understand. Then Leary pointed to the spot just below his collarbone. He looked down and froze. There was something glowing faintly under his shirt. He quickly pulled the fabric down and saw it. A symbol had appeared on his chest, in the same color and shape as the ones on their shoulders. "You, Link now," Leary said. Kai shook his head. "No, I didn't do anything." "Saved," Vera whispered. "You made choice." "Allah." "Seize." He looked at them, unsure of what to say. They weren't forcing anything, but the weight of their eyes, their touch, their presence, it was real. Suddenly the lights in the cabin flickered. A crackle of static filled the air. Lear moved. First, she grabbed a knife from the kitchen shelf and stared at the door. Kai followed her eyes. A shadow moved outside the frosted window. They found us, Leary whispered, too soon. Kai grabbed his old hunting rifle and checked the chamber. Stay behind me. But Vera stepped forward and wrapped her arms around his arm. You protect us, but now we protect you. And behind her, the glow of her markings grew brighter. The storm outside had calmed. Something far colder now lived inside Kai's cabin. He stared at the symbol glowing on his chest. It pulsed with soft red light, warm and steady like a second heartbeat. Leary and Vera watched him closely. Their own markings brightening to match his. The strange rings around their shoulders were no longer just symbols. They were a sign of something deeper. Something chosen by fate. Kai sat by the fire, trying to make sense of it all. He had saved them from the snow. Yes, it fed them, given them warmth and safety. But he never asked for this. Not a mark, not a bond, not to be anyone's husband. Leary sat across from him, her sharp silver eyes calm but serious. In our world, she said slowly, the markings come from within. Not from mind, from the soul. Kai glanced at her. Never agreed to anything. You didn't have to, Leary replied. The bond forms when one life saves another, with no expectation. Vera, sitting beside Kai now, placed her hand gently over the mark on his chest. You gave your fire, she whispered, and now we carry it. Kai shifted, uncomfortable. I don't even know what this means. What does it make me? Leary stood and walked to the window, keeping watch. On the snowy forest, it makes you ours. He frowned. Is that your choice or your law? Leary turned to him. Both. We could refuse the bond, but we don't want to. Vera leaned closer. Her breath brushed his neck as she spoke. No one has ever touched us kindly, till you. The silence stretched between them. It's not heavy, but full of meaning. Then Kai remembered the shadow at the window, the strange flicker in the power, the growl that didn't belong to any animal he knew. What was that outside? He asked. Leary narrowed her eyes. Scout, sent by our pursuers. They track by heat, by bond. Now that we're marked, they can follow us more easily. Kai grabbed his rifle and checked the rounds. Then I need to be ready. You won't fight alone, Leary said firmly. He glanced at Vera. Can she fight? Vera smiled softly. I protect in other ways. As the night deepened, Kai began preparing his cabin for defense. Reinforced the windows, set silent alarms in the snow, charged the backup power core. But what unsettled him most wasn't the coming enemy, it was the way his body had changed. The mark on his chest wasn't fading. It was growing. Every few hours it pulsed stronger. When he touched it, he didn't feel skin. He felt heat, connection. And when Vera touched it, he felt calm. Leary handed him a glowing crystal, no larger than his thumb. Place this near your skin while you sleep, she said. It will hide your warmth from their trackers. Kai raised an eyebrow. And if it fails? Leary smiled faintly. Then we run again, or we fight. Kai lay in bed that night, the crystal pressed under his collar. The sisters slept near, the fire wrapped together beneath furs. But they were not shivering now. They were no longer weak, no longer helpless. They were watching, listening, waiting. In the middle of the night, Kai's eyes snapped open. He hadn't heard a sound yet. Something felt off. He sat up quietly. The fire was still burning, but the air had turned cold again. The glow from the sisters' markings dimmed, flickering as if reacting to something near. Leary opened her eyes first. She moved without sound, her bare feet stepping across the wooden floor with purpose. Kai, she said low. They are close. Outside. Something scraped against the cabin wall. Vera sat up, her hands already moving in patterns, whispering words Kai didn't understand. A soft light shimmered in her palms. Kai grabbed his rifle and moved to the door. Leary followed with a blade in her hand that looked like it had been hidden beneath her cloak since the beginning. It pulsed with the same color as her mark. Then came the voice, not a shout, not a demand. A low, vibrating tone that made the floorboards tremble. "Return what is ours," it said. Not in words, but inside their minds. Vera gasped and grabbed Kai's arm. "It knows you," she said. "Not it knows you carry our bond." Kai held the rifle steady, staring at the door. "Then it knows I won't give you up." Leary stepped beside him, her blade glowing. "Then it dies." And as the door shook under a heavy impact, Kai realized something. He wasn't just defending two strangers. Anymore, he was defending something sacred, something bound by choice, fire, something he never asked for, but now could never let go. The door cracked under pressure. Snow blew in through the seams as something heavy moved just outside. The old wooden frame shook again, and this time the lantern on the wall swung from its hook. Kai raised his rifle. Leary stood at his side with her glowing blade in hand. Vera pressed her palm against Kai's back. Her touch was soft, but the energy in her fingers vibrated like heat from a storm. Not human. Leary whispered, her eyes fixed on the door. "Something bred for hunting."
Ow.
The third strike nearly broke the hinges. Kai stepped forward, planting. His boots on the wooden floor like roots into earth. He had once fought in border wars long forgotten by Earth's cities. He remembered the sounds of enemies outside, weapons ready, lives seconds from ending. But tonight felt different. This time, what he was defending wasn't orders. It was home. The door burst open. A massive figure stepped in, covered in dark armor that shimmered with frost. Its face was a mask of bone and metal, breathing loud and steady. In one hand it carried a curved weapon made from something that wasn't steel. It didn't look at Kai first, it looked at the sisters. "Targets confirmed," the voice came cold and empty. "Royal fugitives. Surrender." Kai didn't move. The figure raised its weapon. "You will not stop me, human." He fired first. The bullet struck the hunter in the chest, but it barely stumbled. The second shot aimed at its leg, dropped it to one knee. Sparks flew from the impact site. Kai cocked the rifle again, but the hunter was already rushing forward. Leary leapt between them, her blade catching the weapon mid-swing. Sparks lit the room as alien steel met ancient light. The hunter swung again, but Leary ducked and sliced deep across its thigh. It roared in rage, then turned sharply, toward Vera. Vera was not holding a weapon. She was holding air. Glowing strands of light danced between her hands, wrapping into spirals. As the hunter lunged, she lifted her palms and released the strands. They wrapped around the intruder's helmet like vines of lightning. The thing screamed, its voice now full of panic. The vines burned into the mask, and in seconds, it dropped to the floor, still twitching, still breathing. But blind Kai stepped forward and kicked the weapon from its hand. Leary pressed her blade to its throat. "Who sent you?" she demanded. The hunter's voice came slower now. "Family Council, male command. Your return is ordered." Vera knelt beside him. "We will never return," she said. "You may live only if you carry this message." Kai looked at her. "You're letting it go?" She nodded. "When hunter speaks to many, fear will spread faster than silence." He dragged the body outside, stripped the weapon for parts, and sent the creature limping into the snow, blinded but breathing. Then he turned back to the cabin and stood in the doorway. The wind howled again, but the cold no longer scared him. Inside, Vera sat near the fire, her arms wrapped around herself. Leary cleaned her blade, silent and thoughtful. Kai poured water into a kettle and set it over the flames. "You two didn't just run," he said. "You fought before. You trained for this." Leary nodded. "Our father taught us, before he was taken." Kai looked at Vera. "And what about you?" She gave a small smile. "I was supposed to marry a prince. Now I burn hunters." Kai shook his head. "What kind of law forces that on anyone?" Leary stood. A law that fears choice? Vera crawled closer to Kai and reached for his hand. Our people believe a bond forms only through ritual. But the markings, they came without ceremony. Like that means one thing. Kai met her eyes. What does it mean? Leary answered. The bond wasn't created, it was awakened. Kai looked down at the mark on his chest. It glowed again, brighter than before. Then what happens next? Leary sheathed her blade. Now they won't stop. Not until you are dead, or bound to their rule. Kai stood slowly, eyes steady, hands firm. Then let them come. Vera leaned into him, resting her head against his chest. You're more than they expected, husband. He didn't correct her this time, because deep down, something in him had already changed. The hunter may have left the cabin, but Kai knew the real. War had just begun. The snow had stopped falling by morning, but the silence outside was sharp. Inside, the cabin was still warm. The fire burned low, casting orange shadows across the wooden floor. Kai sat at the table, the glow of the strange mark still warm on his chest. Leary stood beside the window, watching the forest like a soldier waiting for the next attack. Vera sat on the rug, her fingers tracing symbols in the air that shimmered and faded like smoke. Kai finally asked what had been burning in his mind since the hunter arrived. Why me? Leary turned to him, her arms crossed. You saved us. I did what anyone would do. No, she said. Most would walk past. Most would see danger. You saw life. Vera stood up and walked over, her steps soft and slow. She reached out and touched the edge of Kai's jaw, gently turning his face toward hers. You don't remember, do you? Kai blinked. Remember what? Vera looked at Leary. Leary gave a slow nod. Vera sat beside him, her voice almost a whisper. 10 years ago. Border Wars. Sector 9. You were a soldier. You crossed into a burning village to pull out survivors. Even when your own team retreated, you stayed. Kai's eyes narrowed. How do you know about that? Because I was there, Vera said. I was just a girl, hiding beneath stone and ash. You lifted the wreckage. You gave me water. Mouth opened slightly. He remembered the mission. The screams, the smoke. Child with glowing eyes curled in a corner. But she had disappeared before evac. I thought you died, he said. Vera smiled gently. I followed your ship, but I couldn't reach it. Years passed. I never forgot your face. When they told me I had to marry someone chosen by the council, I refused. They beat me, locked me away. Till Leary broke in and freed me, Leary added. We ran. We tracked the stars. We followed your old records. And then in the snow we found you again. Kai leaned back in his chair, hands clenched tight. You knew me all this time, he said, and you said nothing. We had to be sure, Vera said. The bond doesn't just form by history. It must awaken now. In this life. In this moment. Kai stood up and paced across the room. So this isn't just survival. This is something chosen by blood, by fate. Leary nodded. By truth. He looked at them both. And now I'm marked. They're coming for me too. They always were, Vera said. You just didn't know it yet. Kai stared at the fire. His past had followed him to this mountain. His actions from a war long gone had written a future he never saw coming. But something inside him no longer resisted. The bond wasn't a trap. It was a choice he had already made without words, without thought, the moment he pulled them from the snow. Leary stepped. Closer, there's more, she said. The mark you carry. It's not just a bond. It's a symbol only royal defenders wear. On our world, it grants rights, power, protection. If others see it, they may follow you. Kai raised an eyebrow. You're saying I could lead them? You could spark a rebellion, she replied. Vera whispered, You already have. Before Kai could respond, the cabin lights flickered again. Then a beep echoed from the corner his old satellite scanner. Buried under dust for years, had come to life. He rushed over, brushing off the snow boots that covered it. The screen blinked once, twice, then showed a Signalan inbound transmission, coded in royal frequency. What is that? He asked. Leary leaned over his shoulder. It's from her, she said quietly. Who? Our mother, Kai froze. She's alive. She helped us escape, Vera said. But they caught her. If she's sending this, it means she broke free. The message played. A woman's voice filled the room, strong and clear. Daughters, if you hear this, run to the old beacon, the one who saved you. He is more than you know. He must not fall into their hands. He carries the fire they fear. The message ended. Silence returned. Kai looked at both sisters. I guess we're not staying in this cabin much longer. Vera took his hand. Where you go, we follow. Leary placed a new blade on the table. Then we prepare. As the sky outside began to clear and sunlight hit the snow for the first time in days, something changed in Kai's heart. He wasn't just a man who saved two alien sisters. Anymore, he was their shield. He was their memory. He was the storm waiting for those. Who came next? Snow melted from the roof as the sun broke through the clouds, but inside the cabin, storm brewed colder than any winter outside. Kai stood at the edge of the table, his hand resting beside the blade Leary had given him. The words from the transmission still rang in his ears. He carries the fire they fear. He wasn't a soldier anymore, not just a farmer living off the land. He had become something else, a threat, a symbol. Leary rolled out a star map across the table. Thin, glowing lines marked ancient travel routes, escape tunnels, and fallen way stations across sectors once ruled by her family. She traced a path to a blinking star in the outer rim. The old beacon is here, she said. If our mother reached it, she'll wait there. Kai studied the map. What's between us and it? Leary looked up. Everything dangerous. Vera joined them, her voice calm but shaken. The council knows now. They've seen your mark. They know our bond is complete. They won't just send hunters this time. Kai's eyes darkened. Then who? Ships, Leary said. Armored. Armed. Carrying the law in their hands. Before anyone could speak again, the satellite scanner beeped twice, then silence. Then one word appeared across the old screen Earth. Second later, a new message came in. Not hidden. It's not encrypted. A public warning broadcast across open space. This is High Commander Verex of the Royal Council. To the people of Earth, return the bonded fugitives or face consequence. You have one Earth rotation to comply. This is your only warning. Leary's jaw clenched. Vera stepped closer to Kai. They plan to burn your world if they can't control us. Kai didn't blink. Then they'll have to come through me first. But his voice held more than defiance now. It carried the fire. The star map flickered again. A second transmission came through. This one was different. Human. This is Captain Mara of Earth Fleet Command. We've received an alien threat. Our scans confirm multiple vessels entering outer orbit. We advise shelter. We're not equipped for this kind of invasion. Kai slammed his hand on the table. They won't protect us, he said. Earth's leaders will surrender. They'll hand you over to save themselves. Leary nodded. We've seen it before. Worlds kneel when fire arrives. Kai turned and opened a hidden panel beneath the floorboards. He pulled out a small, worn datapad. Its screen dusty. Wiped it clean and tapped in. A code he hadn't used in years. The device lit up and showed an ancient symbol, a phoenix wrapped in thorns. Vera leaned closer. What is that? Kai stared at the image. My unit's insignia. We were called the Ash Guard. Our orders were to protect secrets, or burn with them. Leary stepped back. You were not just a soldier. No, he replied. I was the one they sent when negotiations failed. He uploaded the Council's threat to the device. Then he pressed a button. The signal launched into deep space, bouncing through satellites and unlisted frequencies. It wasn't a call for help. It was a declaration. A truth sent across every channel. A voice rang out from the speakers. Not Kai's, but synthesized smooth, commanding. This is Kai Mercer.
What?
Marked by the ancient bloodline. Bound by alien law. Earth will not kneel. If you burn us, we will rise from ash. And I will be the first flame. He sent it. Then silence. Vera placed a hand on his back. You just declared war. Kai turned to face her. No, I declared home. Leary pulled 2 cloaks from the wall and handed one to Vera. We leave now, before the skies fall. As they reached the door, the ground shook beneath their feet. Not thunder, not snow shifting. Injants, they stepped outside together. The trees bowed under wind that came from above. Through the clearing clouds, they saw Atan alien dropship descending. Fast, its shadow stretching across the snow. Vera gripped Kai's arm. That's not the council. Leary's eyes widened. It's hers. The ship landed with a hiss, and the door opened. A tall figure stepped out, hair like silver fire. Eyes like Vera's, but sharper. Wore armor of royal metal, but no. Symbols of power? Only a simple chain around her neck bearing the image of a child. She walked forward slowly. Daughters, she said, and the human who would dare stand against stars. Kai stepped forward. I'm not standing against stars, he said. I'm standing beside family. The woman smiled faintly. Then maybe you have a chance. The alien queen stood beneath the pale sun, her eyes locked on Kai's as the wind tugged at her silver hair. Behind her, the sleek black ship hummed with quiet power, ready to rise or strike. But she carried no weapon. No soldiers followed her. Down the ramp, only silence. Leary stepped forward first, her voice steady. Mother, the queen gave a slight nod. You are stronger than I ever hoped. Vera held tighter to Kai's arm. They said you betrayed us, that you let them cage me. I did, the queen replied, to keep them from doing worse. I stayed behind to lead them away from your trail. Kai didn't speak, not yet. The queen's eyes landed on the mark glowing through his shirt. Her voice lowered. The bond is complete. Kai met her gaze, not by design, by choice. You would fight the council for them? I already did, he said. And would you lead them? Kai looked at the sisters standing beside him. One carried fire in her voice, the other light in her soul. Together, they had awakened something the galaxy had forgotten what love looked like when it chose to burn instead of bow. I don't care about thrones, he said, but I'll protect what's mine. The queen stepped closer. Then you must come with me. The beacon is no longer safe. Ships move against it. We have allies scattered, but they need someone to rally behind. Someone bound not by bloodline, but by sacrifice. Vera looked up at Kai. You're not just our husband now. You're our shield. And more, Leary added. The mark on your chest, it's no longer just glowing, it's growing. Kai lifted his shirt. The mark had bloomed across his chest like a crest-shaped knot, like a symbol of war. But a tree rising from fire. The center pulsed with the same red light he saw in Vera's eyes. The same silver shimmer as Leary's blade. He wasn't becoming part of their world. He already was. The queen placed a crystal disc into Kai's hand. This contains the names of all who have rebelled. Some hide in caves. Others serve quietly. In enemy fleets, show them your mark. They'll know what it means, Leary whispered, the husband of exiles. Kai turned toward his cabin. He looked at the simple roof he had. It's built alone. The fire pit where he once sat in silence. The snow outside that had once buried 2 shivering strangers. It was not home anymore. His home now had eyes that glowed and hands that reached for his. His home stood beside him, not behind walls. He stepped onto the ship with them as the ramp lifted and the forest disappeared. Vera reached for him. Do you ever wonder, she asked, why the mark chose you? Kai smiled. Faintly, maybe because I never asked for it. That's why you were worthy, Leary said. Our world teaches power through dominance, but you gave without taking. The ship entered orbit. Earth curved below, small and blue. Above, stars blinked like old promises waiting to be claimed. Again, a voice called from the front of the ship. Multiple pings from council warships. Should we run? Kai walked to the command deck. No, he said. Send one message. What message? The pilot asked. Kai tapped the screen. A hologram flared to life's his image. The sisters at his side. The mark across his chest glowing brighter than ever. And then his voice. Calm and final. To the council who threatened Earth. to the Empire, who threw out its daughters. To those who believe a bond is weakness, we are coming. We do not kneel. We do not forget. We're not alone anymore. The message went out in every direction, across enemy decks, across rebel bunkers, into the hearts of those who thought they had been forgotten. The husband of exiles had spoken, and the stars listened.